wondering if you could share with us your thoughts about what some of the key cleavages are. You know, you might say, okay, I study NGOs in China, but you're fully aware of the tremendous diversity of different kinds of domestic NGOs in China. Which cleavages seem to be the most salient in terms of these issues, especially regarding how the CCP seeks to tether them?
So essentially, what types of NGOs are going to be seen as lower risk and higher benefit?
Who's trustworthy?
Yeah, who's trustworthy? I mean, everybody is suspect. But I think in this, in this context, everybody's suspect. All NGOs are suspect. But I do think some are maybe seen as more trustworthy, or at least, let's go back to our formulation. Higher benefit, lower costs, right? Or higher or lower risk. You know, organizations that are serving a real, going back to the small state, big society formulation, NGOs that are serving a demonstrable good for society, you know, addressing an issue that's of real import. So elder care NGOs, for example, great example of NGOs that are relatively trusted across the country, right? Because the research that we do is not limited to, you know, a handful of provinces. It's across the country. Right. And across the board, elder care NGOs are seen as being very trustworthy, in part because they, you know, give the state, the local state, quite a bit of benefit because they're providing service for this growing part of the population that the state is no longer actually providing for. On the flip side, who are the ones that are more suspect? You know, organizations that are doing work that is not seen as benefiting the state, but only individuals. So like legal aid organizations have long been suspect and continue to be, at least up into 2018, where our data ends. Let's see, if we talk about, now I'm forgetting the types. And labor, of course. I mean, another good example is where you have essentially an NGO that is representing the interests of a group that already is represented by a governmental group. So essentially, labor is a great example. Women's, you know, there's an All China Women's Federation. So the state says, why do you need individual small women's NGOs? We have an organization for you, right? So, you know, where there is, you know, monopoly of interest representation, to use the language of Bloodgood, and their great work that Bloodgood and their colleagues have done across the world, where there is sort of seen as redundancy, they're going to be more suspect, because both the value is seen as being lower, but the risk tends to be higher because maybe they're not going to have enough work to do. And what happens when, you know, you have idle hands? That's the devil's playground, right? These are organizations that could get up to no good in the minds of, I suspect, in the minds of the leaders.
Right. Yeah, and there's a reason why they already have those organizations, because those are issues they want to control, especially labor.